Hi, Laura here. Okay, we left off at the end of part one with me talking about where I had actually stopped just snorting cocaine for a very short amount of time. Not long in the grand scheme of things. Really, we're talking months and smoking it off a tin foil. I guess, they would call that freebasing. I did not know that at the time. Seriously. I did finally pick it up near the end of it, but this was just a few months. So, like I mentioned, flew down to Florida, and my step uncle, he came over and he asked if we wanted to go for a ride to Fort Myers. He asked me and my brother, and we both went. And this is the God's honest truth. We went, and he took us, around up there or whatever. And so then he said, "Here, Laura, try this." He says, "You'll like this. This is Coke that's already cooked up. You'll love it." So he hands it to me, and I hit that thing once, and I was like, it was like nothing I had ever felt in my lifetime. It absolutely made me feel free from all the baggage, all the just absolutely free from everything, that I have blogged about and that I have talked about. If you haven't been reading my story and you don't know it all, and are just seeing the videos, it, was all the sexual abuse, domestic violence, the dying of my father, all that stuff, everything I'd been through up until then, just gone. Never even entered just a feeling of well-being that, was indescribable. And in the same moment, he offered it to my brother, and this is how I knew how addictive it was. I actually put my hand on his arm and stopped him and said, "Don't do it." And, I was smart enough at that time to know that. So, by the time this was all actually revealed, I was 19 years old, and I was in my third rehab. By then, I had been using crack cocaine for maybe a year, and I had, the only thing I've never done for crack cocaine is sell my body, because I figured, I don't know, I couldn't do that, and that probably had a lot to do with, if you want to get all psychological, it probably had a lot to do with the sexual abuse, but I just wouldn't do that. So, I found other means to do it, but it was absolutely, I hated that stuff. I hated it. It came to a point where, I could use it and still put it down and walk away, and, it was a really challenge to do because I didn't like doing it, but I could do it. And so it stayed that way, quite honestly, all throughout my 20s. I didn't use it for 10 years, 9 years. I have to have a drink here, something like that. And then I started, to be honest with you, it's also hazy. The biggest thing, the biggest trigger for it all was my relationship of, I don't know, 13, 14 years was falling apart. And I started hanging out with, again, the wrong crowd. The people that I always hung out with, hangs out with, that's why today, living my new self, I hang out with people who are, moving in the direction of empowerment, who are moving in the direction of a good mindset. It's, you hang around like-minded people. That's, what I found works for me in a nutshell, quick, without going on to another soapbox. And, toward the end, I had mentioned in the blog article, I had showed you what about $150 of crack looks like. And I had written that I was, I think I wrote I was doing that like 5 to 7 times a day. And, I had $1,000 a day crack habit. That's what I operated on. I stayed up. It was not uncommon for me to stay up for, 5, 7 days at a time at all. It got to a point where I stopped, pawning everything I owned at the pawn shops. And I mean everything. Everything and anything that I could take that was pawnable went. When it got past that point, and I got past the point of hurting the people that I love to get money for the crack, forging their checks or stealing, money out of their pocketbook, or, check kiting. When it got to the point where I just couldn't do that stuff anymore, and I wouldn't sell my body, like I said, well, I'll just have to start selling the stuff, I guess, to support my habit. So that's what I did. And after that, things just got crazy. And, the span of this, I'll tell you the time frame of it. It was about a year long, but the ride was extreme. It was wild. I altogether, before that ride started taking place, I had used crack pretty steadily from the year 2001 to 2004 when I stopped. And so yeah, it's the 10-year anniversary. That's what makes it so big too. It's already come and gone, but it was a wild ride. So the rest of that tomorrow, maybe we can close it up tomorrow if we just stick with the crack. But in total, you count that time period before that, in the span of 14 years, I really only used crack for 3.5 to 4 of those years. Other than that, 12-step programs kept me, on the straight and narrow for the most part. I had a good mentor that kept me on the straight and narrow for the most part. I surrounded myself with people who, I got advised when I first walked through the doors to stick with the winners. That's what I did. I surrounded myself with people who had lots of time, in the program. That's what I did. I was blessed. And so, all right, everybody have a great evening, and I will see you tomorrow. I appreciate you listening to my story. Have a good night. So that's what I'm saying. If I can find my way to hope, freedom, and change my mindset, anyone can. It's my intent. My primary intent is to get this message to as many people as I can. That's my primary intent. You know, this is what I've told you is just like a little piece of the story, you know, for the purpose of time. And even tonight we've used a lot of time of video. So, you know, I just want to say, you know, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I appreciate everyone. Have a good night.